Ocean Energy Institute founder says new hurricane will require Gulf evacuation. This was said on MSNBC and in a Bloomberg article. We have another Council on Foreign Relations member, of course, a few weeks ago in the Washington Post saying this thing is, quote, 80 times worse than we had previously thought. There will be Gulf evacuations when the hurricanes kick up, and we're now entering that season, and blow those hundreds of millions of gallons of oil and methane gas that's being released from the oil, the natural gas, into Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, all the way up into Oklahoma and Nebraska and other states. Look, I don't know if this is true. For 2 months, people have been hyping the end of the world and that there's going to be evacuations in the entire South, you know, going in 500 miles with really no evidence of that. Though we do know the government is making preparations in coastal towns for evacuations, and we know that during Katrina, they used the hurricane as an excuse to come in and confiscate guns and engage in a psychological warfare laboratory. So I have no doubt that the government may be planning to use this as some type of big political distraction and fake emergency or hyped up emergency. I mean, there's some reality to it. And use that as a distraction going into the election. Because look at the peak of hurricane season. It will be September, October, November. That's the peak. It really kicks off in late July, starts getting going during August, and then September, October, that's the peak, right into November and the election. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Obama's been lying every time I see him on TV saying nobody's sick. The 40-plus million gallons of core exit isn't a problem. Nobody needs to wear respirators. We know he's lying about that. So if they were going to hype a big evacuation and fearmonger, wouldn't they be fearmongering over the real issues? So I don't know. We're getting a lot of mixed messages. And I'm not even criticizing people that think it's the end of the world and there's going to be evacuations. I think you will see some evacuations, at least from coastal towns. And there's the devastation of the economy in these Gulf areas. But I've seen maps online with no scientific evidence, with bad grammar, you know, with a black line saying, get ready to evacuate, and a red line below it going from Texas through Georgia, everything south of it, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, saying, you know, get out of there, run for the hills. And that just doesn't make sense to me. That, okay, a bunch of this oil comes into shore. And you've got to evacuate some of the towns. The issue is, will the feds be in there confiscating guns again? I mean, are the feds going to come out and say, evacuate 200 miles inland? If that happens, there's nowhere to put these tens of millions of people. Remember Houston, when they had a hurricane a few years ago, and for days people were stuck on the highway, and some of them dying of heat exhaustion? Look, all right, I said I'd cover it later. I'm already covering it now. I'm going to get more into this when we start the next hour and a bunch of other news. And we'll take your calls on that subject as well. But before I go to your phone calls, remember last week how the Obama deception got censored and there was such public outcry that YouTube put it back up. We are still offering these, but I'm getting rid of this special in another week. This special is going to go down because I can't even afford to reprint these at the price I'm selling them. When the DVDs I have are sold, and we estimate it'll be about a week, Obama Deception will go back up to $19.95 a piece. Right now, you can get 4 copies of the Obama Deception for $19.95. That's $4.90-something a piece. $19.95. You can get 4 copies of the Obama Deception at Infowars.com. You simply go to the website. You click on any one of the 2 shopping carts we've got. We've got the new store and the old store, the new InfoWars store. Then, of course, we've got the Yahoo store. And you can get 4 of these for $19.95. You can get them for, what, $3.98 a piece when you get 10 of them for $39.95. 10 of these for $39.95. And let me tell you, people are more apt to watch it when it's a high-quality, shrink-wrapped beautiful color cover that has a full description on the back of this important film. So these are great to give people, great to inform others. And, of course, you can also get part 2 of the Obama Deception, Fall of the Republic, the presidency of Barack Obama, that covers the globalists, the banks, what their end game is. Very important documentaries and are the most effective and powerful I've ever released, all available at Infowars.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And as I always say, now is the time to get the word out. Now people are ready. You tried to talk to somebody 10 years ago, they laughed at you as a kook. They're waking up now because so many patriots told them how the world really works years ago. And now they're really ready to have their awakening turbocharged. You can also write to us, and if it comes in the mail anytime the next 2 weeks, we'll honor the 4 copies for $19.95. You don't have to worry of the specials ending in a week. As long as it's postmarked in the next week, you can also take advantage of all these specials and combos that we've got. We're going to be changing a lot of the specials in a week. So if you want to take advantage of this, do it today. The P.O. Box is P.O. Box 19549. That's P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. Or again, Infowars.com. And I want to thank all of you over the years who have PrisonPlanet.tv memberships. I want to thank all of you that do buy the books, the videos, the materials, because your purchase has also made everything we've done here possible. So it's all a team effort, and God bless you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this historical operation we're running possible. You are the key, and I want to thank you again. Okay, let's go ahead and go to your phone calls. Let's talk to Peter in Washington. Peter, you're on the air.
Yes, Alex, I've known about conspiracies for over 20 years, and about 2 years ago I saw Endgame, which focused the thing to me. Now, what I'd like to talk about today is I don't think fascism is the correct term for it. I'll tell you what the correct term is first, or the one I believe is better, and then I'll tell you why fascism isn't right. I think it's best described as homicidal plutocracy. Well, homicidal speaks for itself, and plutocracy comes from the word Pluto was the pagan god of both wealth and death. So the two work together perfectly. Works better than oligarchy, which is an inferior form of government. Now, I don't think fascism, because what you're describing is not a government controlling the private sector, but the private is part of the private sector controlling the government. And you look at fascism, you had an incorporation of all elements of society into various unions. And I don't think that's the theory with the dictator who supposedly reflects all of society and decides various quarrels between them, you know. And I just don't think fascism's right. I think calling it homicidal plutocracy, which shows its basic illegality. Even oligarchy is an inferior form of government. It's still a government. You know, where the rich people think they're doing the best for the rest of society. This is much more illegal. Well, anyway, that's my opinion, and I thank you for the time that you've given me.
Well, Peter, stay there because you're very well spoken, and your information is crystal clear, and I agree with you. When I use terms like fascism or socialism, those are derivative terms that the general public in their semantical lexicon can understand. And if you look at this system, the closest term to describe it that's in popular use would be fascism, because the public sold that this is socialism. Well, they socialize our wealth for social engineering to control us, but it is a process of consolidation of power in the hands of the mega-rich, the ultra-elite, who are predatory against everyone else. It is a clique. It is a mafia, a corporate mafia that's taken control of every major nation on earth, but a handful, those nations that aren't under their control, and because governments are generally corrupt, those rogue nations are generally bad as well and have their own problems. They're just not as sophisticated and imperial, so they're not the threat. Libya, Iran, You can list a few others there, North Korea. But I do agree, homicidal plutocracy is a good term. But I would call it a scientific dictatorship because that's how the controllers describe themselves. So it is a mafia of royalty, of robber barons, who in the last 150 years said, we want to understand controlling the individual, not just nations, and how to dumb people down. And the Germans also were competing with their systems of social control. So it is 20th and 21st century social control, and the elites in all their major publications have openly decided to create the final revolution against humanity, a scientific dictatorship that seeks to take control of all industry, all production, all farming, language. It's full spectrum dominance.